Hello again, everybody. The Bearded Prepper here. I'm coming to you today to talk about the economic landscape, if you will, or at least some aspects of it, and digest, at least on a micro level, some of the things that are going on that maybe you need to know about. So, one of the things that's kind of been riding under the radar, if you will, on the news and the airwaves this year. So today let's talk about, economic preps. We haven't talked about that much since the very beginning of this channel, which, by the way, is coming up on a year. The 20th of this month will be a year since I started this channel. So I hope that it's helped someone. At least it's helped me stay on target and stay focused and get a little bit better prepared, because, I've been trying to put together some, I guess if we'll call it content. I mean, it's just everyday living for me, but if you will, just share some little snippets of my life with you all. But let's dig into it. Let's talk about economic preps. So let's go way back to the foundations. I mean, I'm talking about like Old Testament days, all the way to current. What is the one thing that has stayed consistent from the beginning of our documented history to the current day as of today in August of 2023? Precious metals. Some people might argue gemstones and this, that, and the other. Yeah, they have value too, but today we're going to talk about precious metals, primarily gold and silver. So ever since Old Testament days, we're reading about people, using gold and silver as their money, as their means of having treasures or financial worth. And economic worth or financial worth is what it is. It is a means to get you what you need in life and to help others. It will in no way bring you happiness. Make sure your heart's right with your Lord and Savior. That'll help you find true happiness. But I do think God has caused us to use our brain and to do our best to do the right thing and be prepared. And I'll admit, this is an area that I have not focused on as much, because I've been so busy trying to get everything else prepared, and food, and making sure I have a way to have a decent shelter and safety and security and food procurement and tools and you name it, across the full gamut of getting prepared. That's where pretty much most of my energy is gone. But just to look at what's happening this year, and this is what really got my attention, and I felt like I really had to put it out there. So just in the first 2 months of this year, the central banks, and I don't mean the US, I mean central banks around the world, they increased their gold reserves, or their physical gold in hand, at a greater rate than has ever been done in history. Just in the first 2 months of this year, the central banks of the world put away, or purchased and packed away, 125 tons of gold. That's just in January and February of this year. So to put that in perspective, figure out how many pounds are in a ton, multiply that by 125, and then figure out how many ounces of gold are in every pound, and then look at the price of gold. Last time I looked, it was $1,912.20. It fluctuates there, within a few dollars right now. Some experts say it's really going to skyrocket this year. We'll see if that's true or not. But and that's not even to negate silver, which is more affordable. It's only about $25, $24 to $26 an ounce. So a lot of people will prep with silver more over gold just because you can afford it more easily. So anyway, getting into it, that led me to look at, who is buying all this gold? If it's the world central banks buying it, what are the top purchasers of gold? So the top purchasers of gold, number one, it kind of surprised me, it was Singapore, which is a small little independent nation. Singapore, but it was followed by Turkey, and then Russia, and then China, and then India. Some of those may ring a bell, especially 3 of those 5, because Russia, India, and China, they make up BRICS. BRICS is kind of like the alternative to the G7, which the U.S. belongs to with our allies, some of our allies. But in BRICS is Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Now, if you've been paying attention to any of the news recently, South Africa and Russia have been awfully cozy. And China is just China. They would love to tear us all down and take over the world. But the fact that the top consumers of gold this year, a record-setting year, is the BRIC nations, which are not our most friendly nations. They're not the most pro-American nations. As a matter of fact, they're starting their their little coalition to oppose ours and to look out for their interests, not ours. But also you see these other places like Singapore, Turkey. They've also been kind of friendly with some of those nations recently. They may not be part of BRICS, but they're heavily influenced by BRICS. And they're trying to figure out what they're going to do. So what do you do in uncertain times when it looks like 2 different groups are going to try to compete for the world stage power? You hedge your bets with precious metals. That's what everybody's always done ever since the beginning of human commerce or treasure hunting. They look for precious metals. So one would question also, why are they hedging their bets? And in my simplest terms, in my very elementary understanding, everyone knows that the U.S. dollar is known as the world's currency. It's what the petrol dollar is based on when countries want to purchase oil and such as that. And there's a lot of these nations that would like to see the U.S. dollar fall. And unfortunately, a lot of these countries actually own a lot of our U.S. debt. We owe them money. That's how we've kept our economy afloat all these years, that we've just been spending, sending to Ukraine, giving to Afghanistan, all these things, trying to prop up the world. In the meantime, we've been borrowing from everyone else. So if everybody decides to call in their debt, what's going to happen? It's all going to fall apart. That house of cards will fall apart. But in addition to that, one of the things that is most concerning, and to those of you that are getting bored at this point, I encourage you to stick around, because I'm going to give you a very elementary introduction to at least silver, and what to look for, some of the basic things to look for if you're going to start collecting up some silver because you can afford that. So stick with me for a minute. But one of the more ominous signs that I saw come out in the news, deep buried in a headline or in an article, was about the decrease in gold demand in certain industries. So there's been a huge increase, a record setting increase this year in gold going to other countries. As a matter of fact, Poland, which is just adjacent to the Ukraine war with Russia, set a record last month in July. Every month for the past 4 months, they've been increasing their gold consumption. And last month, they bought 72,000 ounces of gold. That's a lot of money. So, they're right there in the mix, right adjacent to that war, and they're just ramping it up. So those signs alone, the other article I'm leading to showed that the tech industry has significantly dropped in their consumption of gold. And everyone may say, well, what does that matter? But if you don't know, precious metals are used in the production of a lot of our electronics, a lot of our technology. So a lot of economists are saying, yeah, I know that, the bigwigs or the people on the TV screen are saying, oh, we've saved it, we've avoided a recession because we've increased these interest rates, and the GDP growth is this, that, and the other. Look at the jobs, look at this, that, and the other. But when you see one of our major industries, 2 of our major industries, going in a negative direction, it gets your attention. Technology is no longer buying a lot of gold, to produce new products. And the other industry is cardboard. The cardboard industry has taken a hit and retracted. So if people are not buying cardboard and they're not buying the materials needed to produce technology, which is a lot of our products, you know, everything from kitchen gadgets to your cell phone to your car to your whatever is, you know, technology and electronics. If those two industries are retracting, then that means they're either experiencing or preparing for a recession. So just some food for thought. I know that was a lot of talk about gold and world economics from a very elementary standpoint. I do not pretend to be an expert in economics, especially world economics. I just have my everyday understanding that I like to share with people. If you will, putting the cookies on the low shelf. That way everybody can reach some. I try to keep it simple. I don't want to get, you know, overly complex in my explanations and my understanding. I just need to understand how it impacts me and what it may be saying. So let's get into silver. I have just a few pieces that I've collected over the years. One of my jobs when I was a teenager is I used to roll quarters for this place. And I would always keep a pocket full of quarters because I got to the point I could recognize the sound of a 90% silver coin in a box or handful because it sounds different. I'll try to demonstrate that for you today. But for those of you that don't know, the number one rule is to remember 1964 and older is 90% pure silver in US coins. So these are both pre-1964. You can see one is more of a modern dime, one is a mercury dime, but the thing to remember is beginning in 1965, the US government started conserving silver, no longer putting 90% silver in coins, and it's mostly, you know, non-valuable metals. You'll have some copper and some zinc and stuff like that. As a matter of fact, I don't know if you can see it on the video, but I'll show you the difference. Here is, if it will focus, in this hand is a modern coin, and in this hand is a 90% silver coin. I don't know if you can see the difference on the edge, but one has kind of a copper look and the other has a silver look. You can tell that by looking. Modern coins have that copper look on the little ridges on the edge of quarters and dimes and such. Of course, nickels are smooth. You'd have to look at the date on those, but you can see the difference. You can hear the difference, which I'll try to demonstrate later. And the date of 1964 or older is 90% silver. So any silver US coin, you know, older than that, keep it because it's worth a lot more than anything these days. As a matter of fact, you get a dollar, they sell the silver by the dollar value on the ounce. So whether it's a silver dollar, half dollar, quarter, dime, nickel, the dollar value is what you pay attention to when you consider the weight that you want to trade in. But beyond the date, another thing you want to look at is the condition of the coin. Now, I don't just mean because this one's all shiny and this one's all dirty that it makes this one worth more. This one is worth more because if you look closely, you can see the relief on this one is much higher. This looks brand new. The relief on this one looks like it's been in about 10,000 pockets and worn down, a little bit smooth. The edges are worn off, the face is worn off a little bit. And when you weigh those, the one that's worn weighs just a little bit less than the one that is in new condition. So that matters because of the weight of silver that's in it. So you can, and I had oh, sorry about that. Lost weight on my foot prop there. I had a coin shop guy showed me this one time. He stacked up 10 worn mercury dimes that were really old and worn down almost smooth, and he stacked up 10 newer dimes, and you had almost a dime's difference in the height of those two stacks between the newer ones and the older ones. So whenever you're looking at coins, you know, here's a couple of half dollars. You can see, hopefully, this one is a lot more worn than that one, has a high relief. This one's more smooth. This one has a little bit more silver than this. So if you're collecting, same with gold, if you're collecting gold coins or whatever, try to get the best condition you can because it has the most still precious metal in it. And it hasn't been worn off over time. So, but anyway, I've got a couple of handfuls here, if you will. This is the handful of the pure silver, and I've got some more modern coins over here. Let's see if you can hear the difference when I rattle it. This one the real silver has more of a hollow sound, and the modern coins have a higher pitched sound. So, real silver, modern coins. If you can't hear that over the video, you can in person. I encourage you to try it out. So do a little bit of research on your own. Figure out where you can get silver in your area. You can get these 90% coins because they are 90% silver as opposed to pure silver. A lot of shops will even sell you pure silver, or 0.9999% silver. So pure silver, as pure as it gets, by the ounce as well. So in addition to that, if you're in a good financial position, you can buy some gold too. And I say this for a couple of reasons. A lot of people like to have a little bit of gold, or what they can afford of gold. They like to have some pure silver, and they like to have a lot of old coins, old 90% coins. And the reason that is because it's two things. One, you're kind of hedging the security of your money value. Let's say we do have a terrible recession. Let's say we have a depression. And let's say that our money does just bottom out. Let's say our enemies set us up, and the U.S. economy just collapses. The value of our dollar just collapses. When our paper money, or digital money, whatever you want to call it, whatever they're forcing us to hold at that time, has greatly decreased in value, your precious metals are going to hold their value because it can be traded around the world. So you do secure your the value of your money in that way. Also, you think about what would happen in the worst case scenario if people did start bartering, or if U.S. paper was worthless. You'll be a lot better positioned to barter and to buy things with something of value that hasn't lost its value, like silver or gold, than paper money that's really worthless. And beyond that, you have to consider that having those small silver coins would enable you to better trade on everyday basis if you got into that position. Because if you bring out a big gold coin that's, I don't know, let's say you've got an ounce gold coin that's worth, if it greatly increases like the experts say, let's say it's worth $3,000 or $4,000. The odds of you getting change from that somewhere in an everyday situation are probably slimmer. Plus, everybody sees that and they're like, oh, you have a bunch of gold. Let's follow you home. But if you have a, pocket full of old silver coins, the odds are less likely that you're going to look like a wealthy individual out in that kind of setting, and the odds of you getting change or making exact change are a lot better. So, those are a couple of the benefits of diversifying it if you can afford to do it. And look, guys, if you say, look, Bearded Prepper, I'm doing everything I can to put away a bag of rice and beans every week, then stick with that. I encourage you. I'm just talking to the people that have a lot of preps already built up, but they haven't really thought of any kind of economic preps beyond maybe a savings account or whatever. In a world where our economy took a hit, if that happens, your paper money is not going to be worth anything. Now, your physical possessions would, maybe tools, maybe silver, maybe some gold, maybe a bucket of screws, whatever, a basket full of eggs, that would be worth a lot more than a devalued dollar. So I encourage you guys to think about it. Diversify if you can. Do your research and have a plan. Until next time, I encourage you to seek the wisdom of our Lord and Savior. God bless. I'm the Bearded Prepper, signing off.